Hello again, everybody. It's me, Madame Macabre.
Shadowkisses.
And we are actually here for a dual story time because it involves both of us. Now, this is not something I am necessarily the most proud of, but it is something kind of dumb that kids do. We were in high school, and it's not like we did it completely, like, out of pure malicious nature. It was to defend a friend, but it's kind of a wild ride, so I think we will share the story of the time that we catfished somebody.
Yeah.
So now, before you start thinking, oh, how could you? We thought you were better than that. Listen up. The person that got catfished was a genuinely terrible human being. For this story, we're gonna go ahead and call her Chunk.
She took every last chunk of our patience.
It is a nightmare. So, Chunk had actually done a lot of really messed up stuff. She is a handbasket of issues and could be a whole bunch of other story times. So, for the sake of this not stretching into some wild goose chase on other stories, we're just gonna single it down to the events that led right up to the catfishing. So, the friendship at this point in time had, between me and Chunk, we had been friends for the majority of the school year. I ended up, if you if you listened to the story of how Shadowkisses and I met with, you want to hear the mating dance of the bird of paradise or whatever, like,
Justin, go sit down. No. Nobody likes you.
So basically, that was the point in time when Shadowkisses and I first met, and that was the point in time where Chunk started getting mad, because up until that point, she had been kind of pretty much, like, emotionally manipulating and bullying me, and Shadowkisses came in at that point. She's like, that's not right, and that's gonna stop. So as you can imagine, Chunk, right off the bat, did not like Shadowkisses.
Nope.
And she wasn't shy about it either.
And I never liked Chunk. Ever.
You're the malice in your voice.
I straight up told you, how many times to just dump her and, just dump her on the side of the road and walk away. Just kick her out of her car. Just.
She was never a very good friend, but I was the type of person who was like, no, there's good in there. There's good in there. It's fine. And you're just like, be gone.
Like, bye.
But, so anyway, I had been trying to remain friends with both Chunk and Shadowkisses up until this point. I didn't want to have to, I didn't want to have to end any friendships or start any drama, so I was trying to maintain friendships with them both, even though it was clear they had issues with each other, and it was fine because Shadowkisses, despite her telling me that she didn't like Chunk and that she thought I should just not be around her, despite her voicing her opinion about her not liking me being around her, she never forbade me from still hanging out with her.
Yeah, here's the thing, even at a young age, I realized that it's not my choice. I can't make that choice for somebody else, and I was mature enough to go, you know what? I enjoy our friendship. If you still want to be friends with them, that's fine. But don't ask me to hang out with her.
But anyway, so this last event that led to the catfishing was it was the final straw in between just everything going down. So basically what led up to it was that, you see, Chunk was always very weird about guys. I should have known. I've actually listed her in the toxic friend types videos. You'll know Chunk, because she's the one that every time I was interested in a guy, it was like, how? But yeah, so Chunk was the one who basically every time I'd be like, oh, he's cute, I'm interested in him, she'd be like, I've liked him since the beginning of the school year. I need to do this to me. You're not allowed to like him. Stop being interested in him right now.
You got the wrong voice type for her. How dare you? I love him.
She did have a bit of a husky tone to her voice.
Like someone straight up drop kicked her in the throat.
I wish it was me. How could you do this to me? I was in love with him from the beginning.
And then, I hate you.
There's a lot of salt in this video.
Just like a whole truck full.
We're fine. So basically, she was always crazy possessive with men, even if they didn't even know her.
Yeah.
Like, disturbing levels of overly possessive and interested. Like, we're talking stalker territory, and that will come to play in just a moment here. See, because basically, there was a new guy that entered the picture, and I think it was because we were working at the haunted house or something.
Yes,
this was
exactly,
back
yeah.
when we were working at the haunted house, and he was one of the new people working there, and Chunk and Shadowkisses were both working there. We were all there. And basically, it was both Chunk and Shadowkisses decided that, I kind of like this fella. And instead of being like civilized human beings, we're just like, well, may the best woman win. Chunk's like,
Mine.
So, basically, now mind you, both of them had mentioned that they were interested in him, and Shadowkisses had basically told me that she was planning on trying to see if she could get him interested in her and maybe wanting to date him. Chunk basically did the same thing she does with all guys, so I didn't know how serious she was about actually wanting to date him, because it was just,
I loved him since I laid eyes upon him.
and it's like, okay, Chunk, but what about the guy you told me I couldn't be interested in?
I still love him.
She was a mess, okay? So, basically, Chunk started being really creepy because she decided she liked this guy. And she knew that Shadowkisses liked this guy too. Therefore, she decided to kick her creepiness into hyperdrive.
So at some point, me and this guy started hanging out, and we were like kind of getting to know each other and like establishing a friendship before we jumped into anything.
Like how normal human beings do that
Yeah.
don't want to be freaking creepy and breathing on your neck.
I will never do this. He started explaining to me that even though he had class on, let's say, the far right side of our high school campus, and she would have classes on the far left side of the campus.
And
like,
we were in a pretty big school, mind you. It's a huge, like one of those, like, what is it, the categories of the 4A or whatever schools. We were the big one with like 2,000 plus students. Big school. Massive campus. So we're talking huge distance between these two classes going on.
He would see her in between classes, even though she had classes like way on the other side. She'd be like hanging out and just like watching him go to class. And eventually, like, it got to the point to where like she would start walking right behind him. And she never said anything. She'd just be like, hey.
Basically, just imagine this. Mind you, she was not a small lady. And I can't talk because I am almost 5'9" myself. But compared to me, she was quite a bit taller. She made me seem like your average height. And
she'd wear these like chunky heels that
she'd
were
wear
like
those,
that thick.
like those big, like those ones from like Hot Topic, that like the massive like elevator goth boots.
So she'd straight up be like 3 inches taller than this guy.
So she was like pushing herself to like 6'3", and nothing against you if you're naturally a tall girl, cause you can be tall and fabulous. Like I live in the tall girl struggles, but like we're talking not only tall, but also like she was probably twice as rugged and muscular as this guy that she was stalking.
Yeah.
And again, not necessarily a problem in itself until you start stalking people and you are much bigger than them. Mm-hmm. Especially because this guy was kind of a string bean. He was a skinny boy.
He was tiny back in high school.
Like, so just imagine this skinny, average height high school boy being stalked by an extremely tall, extremely large, with a track record of violence, mind you. She broke another guy's leg in that school with her big chunky gothic boots. She bragged about kicking him until his leg snapped.
And then you remember how she kicked the crap out of the guy in my drama class in the ribs?
Yes, she broke his rib.
Because she straight up got rejected by him. She's
He
like,
told her no.
go out with me. And he's like, hell no.
Gross. And then, whoop, bam, like just, you reject her and she beats you. So basically, you can understand why he was understandably freaked out by being stalked by this large, powerfully violent individual who's just like silent, like she had no reason to be there, just like quietly not saying anything, walking a good, maybe only 5 to 10 feet behind him.
Oh, it wasn't even 5 to 10 feet. She could smell him.
Oh, this is walking by.
Pretty much.
No. Okay, this is fine. We're oh god. But yeah, so basically, she started stalking this guy to the point where, like, he actually started telling. The reason we knew a lot of this, like, we saw a little bit of it, but the majority of this information we got from the guy himself because he started telling Shadowkisses because he was so freaked out by it.
And I'm a scrappy little thing.
She was ready to throw down, and I'm just like, please don't, it's fine. She's Chunk's just doing Chunk's thing.
She's being a psycho.
My hair's going crazy stuff.
Mine is too.
But anyway, it's like, basically, he tried his best at that point to ignore Chunk, and Shadowkisses mercifully listened to me and didn't try and throw down with Chunk, because I'm just like, please, I just don't want you to fight, like, don't. So she held off, because at this point it was very clear that Shadowkisses had won in winning this guy's affections, because Chunk, she played herself. Because at that point, he was terrified of her, and it was game over, and it was her own fault. But at this point, he finally asked Shadowkisses out.
And Chunk did not like that.
Chunk was not happy. Basically, a giant Chunk tantrum ensued, and she was like, she stole my man. Oh, sorry.
She stole my man.
That's better.
And, basically demanded at that point that I never speak or see Shadowkisses ever again because she was a dirty man stealer, even though at this point I'm like, are you delusional? Because I've been talking to both of them, and like I'd also talked to the guy a couple times because I'm like, if one of my friends is gonna date somebody, I like to get to know them too, just so I know what's going on. And like, clearly, it's not that she had stolen him, it's he just was interested in Shadowkisses and was creeped out by Chunk. But I couldn't tell Chunk that he was scared of her because somehow it would have been my fault. So, basically, Shadowkisses betrayed her even farther than just not liking her, stole her man, and that's when the final straw. So basically, she told me not to talk to Shadowkisses anymore, and I refused. Because that's nonsense, and I'm not gonna not be somebody's friend because you don't like something. Your problem with someone is not my problem if it's not anything that's legitimately like breaking laws or hurting someone,
Yeah.
So I refused, and at that point, Chunk stopped having contact with me because I chose Chunk over her. And that's where she went and made it personal, even more personal with Shadowkisses.